Tonight we have a smaller group, and I expected that because the topic of tonight is not what's popular. Tonight we're not talking about the secrets to grow amazing cannabis. Tonight we're not talking about the easy, quick fix that you can go to your garden and change to get more yields, higher quality product. I'm not a grower. I have had the merit for the past 3.5 years to lead a team of amazing people at Verde. 3.5 years ago, Verde was a team of 5. We had a store in Colfax, a medical store. And today we have a company of over 50 people. We're the largest organic living soil cannabis company in Colorado, thanks to the hard work and the passion that Cassandra and a group of growers and people at Verde have put into this. But to work on yourself, to try to become better professionally and personally, is not very popular. It's not something that most people want to do. It's hard, it's painful. But I truly believe, from my experience leading Verde, that that's where the magic happens. That's where we can take our personal and professional life to the next level. So I want to share with you some experiences. I want to share with you some management and leadership techniques that you can take with you to your own home-grow gardens, to your jobs at a cultivation facility, or just for your personal life. Why do we grow in living soil? Why do we grow organically?
It's just the most optimal thing for the plant because that's how it will grow if nobody ever did anything to it in the first place.
Exactly, exactly. So nature knows best. We, with our 5 senses, are very limited. All of the answers, by the way, I think they're true. I'm not a grower again, but from working with growers for some time now, I can tell that those are right things. We want the plant to express its full potential. We want the plant to give us the best that it can. So we're there to facilitate that process. So when we're thinking about unlocking our full potential as cultivators, to me there's 2 sides, and they're down the middle. When I was preparing for this lecture last night, I was listening to Cassandra's lecture, and I wanted to make it sequential. And it happened to be that a lot of the things that I was planning to talk about, Cassandra spoke about a month ago. Because the personal aspect, the management, the leadership, the way we conduct ourselves, especially when we're working in large groups, in commercial grows, has probably as much influence in our performance as how much we know. Technical knowledge is very important. We should invest ourselves in reading, learning, networking, trying things, thinking about the process, making sense of the methods that we use, but we can't forget the other half. And especially if you want to go from a grower to a leader or a cultivation manager or a master grower, you have to know management, you have to know leadership. And to me, if knowledge is king, leadership rules. To me, there's 2 types of leaders. There's the people that lead from within the group, and then there is the people that lead, how do you say, from behind the desk. And it feels completely different. We've all been in that circumstance where someone just blames you or he doesn't even understand what you did and he's already like criticizing you or maybe even taking credit for what you did. And that doesn't feel right. That doesn't feel good to anyone. That actually doesn't even last. People don't respect those people. They're not their leaders. They have that authority, but they don't have the respect of their team. It's not really their team. To me, the only leadership that matters is the leadership where someone is part of the team, where someone is right there with the people making decisions, evaluating problems, assessing situations, taking the responsibility that that authority is giving them. And actually, that then creates a relationship in a team that allows everyone to thrive. So the question is, how do we become leaders? If we want to be a good grower, we can do that on our own. But if we want to lead other people, if we want to make a greater impact and work with others, then we need to figure out how can we lead. And to me, there's only one answer. It's the MVP of the team. Sometimes we think of the MVP like sports, of that star, the quarterback, the best player. But to me, the MVP is the person that the team chooses naturally as their leader, because that's the person that's always there for them. That's the person that's willing to do the hard work every single time. That's the person that you want to rely because you can trust that person for whatever you need. And I've had circumstances at work where I've given leadership positions to people that definitely didn't have the most knowledge or experience in the garden or in the team. And it pisses people off. Fuck them. It doesn't work to just have the title because you know more. To think about becoming the MVP of a team, I want to present you with what I believe are the 3 modes that we can act on. Sometimes we work, for ourselves. We're just doing what we need to do for ourselves, and that's important. If we don't take care of ourselves, then how can we really take care of other people? Sometimes we're working for others, and that's also very important, because if we don't help other people, then when we need help, nobody's going to be there for us. And then there's a 3rd mode, which is in collaboration. And that is key because, again, alone, you can do so much. If you really want to do something big, really big, then you need a team. Then you need others. You need to collaborate. Our perception as individuals is very limited. So I'd like you to think for a second and reflect on which mode are you personally more frequently in. You can think for a second just on your own. Who thinks mode 1 is the most important? Really? Thank you, Josh. What about 2? Who thinks mode 2 is the most important? What about mode 3? Wow. Looks like an elevated crowd. In my mind, there's not one that's more important than the others. To me, there's moments where we need to take care of ourselves. There's moments where we need to take care of others. And then there's moments where we need to work in collaboration. The key, though, is to figure out our nature. Where are we most of the time? Are we someone that typically just wants to help others? Are we mostly just want to do it on our own and not have to deal with working with other people, or are we mostly in collaboration? And to find that balance, the first thing that I would say that it's important to do is to be aware of our nature. Because we made like 80% of the room set in collaboration, but do we do that? Do we usually try to collaborate with, especially when it's people that we don't like? Because it's easy to collaborate with Cassandra and Jamie, or like Jimmy, or people that we get along with. It's very cool to go to the movies with your friend, but if you have to work on something with someone that you don't get along, do we stay in that mode? Or do we say, you know what, actually, you do this part, and I'm going to do mine, and then we'll put it together. So knowing your nature is the first step. The second one is practicing checking yourself. So on your day-to-day, this is a muscle. Consciousness is something that we can build by checking ourselves, working on it. It's not just going to be there for us because one day we decided we want to be better. And probably the hardest one is then trying to remove your agenda so you can transform. We grow by getting outside of our comfort zone. We don't grow muscle by, lifting the weights that are easy for us. We transform by getting outside, because that's what it means. You're expanding your desire, you're expanding your vessel, you're expanding yourself to a next level. And so being aware of that also helps, because when it hurts, but you know that there's a reward coming your way, you're much more willing to do that work. And it is hard work. You're not just sucking it up because you have to. You're actually doing it for yourself. You know that there's something on the other side of that challenge that you want to get. And therefore, you invest. Now, when we're talking about getting out of our comfort zone, a big piece that I've seen with growers is struggling with numbers and data and, just having facts. Because, we might know theory and facts in theory, but when it comes to practical and with a 5 or 6 month life cycle of a plant, it's very hard to remember what happened. If you're growing in a warehouse cycle by cycle and there's so many plants in each cycle, it's impossible to remember. And when I was listening to Cassandra's talk last night, I was like, wow, that's so cool that she also touched on that, because it's key. So I wanted to spend some time giving you some tools that can help you take your cannabis cultivation management skills to the next level. I have been collecting data from day one very, very meticulously for the Verde Garden. We have data that's strain specific for every single one of our rooms. We have and cycles. We write down on an amazing harvest batch booklet that Cassandra and Jamie and the team put together on the things that we do on a daily basis. So that when we see the results, when we see the yields, when we see the quality of the flower that came down, we can look back and see, okay, what happened there? What did we do different? Did we clone for an extra week or two? Did we have the right pH in veg? How tall were the plants, or how healthy were the plants or the root balls when they were going into flower in that transplant? And we won't remember. So, in this I can't tell you how valuable it is for your own process of growth to have a booklet, a notebook, where you write down what you're doing on a daily basis with your plants. Otherwise, you'll be missing on a lot of really good information and good data that can actually help you become a better grower. So, if you work in a big facility, or even if you're growing at home, you need to make a big decision, you better back it up with some numbers. That's just going to help you make a more educated decision. And so I wanted to give the example of profitability for different strains. So in that, there is 3 factors that are important to consider. And if everyone wants to take a piece of paper and a pen, we'll go through an exercise now if you want. So in general terms, when we're talking about cost of production, you should consider everything that goes into it. If your bulb went out, well, that's a cost that you had to put there. If your electricity bill was higher or lower, that's important for you to know. If you had to pay more money for someone to trim, or if your salaries were high or low in that cycle, that's important for you to know. And that'll give you a total cost of production for your cycles. These are real numbers for us. So price per strain. Not every strain sells for the same numbers. These are just some examples. We have some Chemi Jones, some citrus berries, some Durban, some Harlequin, some different strains, amazing strains. And the market tells you what they like more or less, what they're willing to pay more or less for. And that's real. You might love something that people don't want to buy. So you should consider that. And then the third piece is yields per strain. So some people measure pounds per plant. Some people measure pounds per light. And I think both of those work really well. If you're having a consistent number of plants in that same room, then pounds per plant, I think it's a good metric. If your lights are staying constant, but you're changing the number of plants, then you're better off going with pounds per light. Pounds per watt, in my mind, doesn't really make sense because you're not really comparing yourself to another grow. You're comparing, and you're not changing if you're changing the lights, then yes. But if you're just comparing yourself to the previous cycle, then that doesn't make sense. So it's important that you give really good thought, because there's not a magic formula, and that's why, like, this is, you know, I have the blessing of having a background in engineering and not in science, because engineering is about figuring out things with assumptions and within range, and not so much exact numbers. And in cultivation, that happens all the time. And so it's important for you to realize what works for your specific scenario, what works in your case, and think about both and decide what's good for you. So any question about this before we jump into the exercise? Cool. So this is the exercise. Let's say we have 2 strains that we're growing. One is Face Off. It's yielding 0.35 pounds per plant, and it's selling for $1,800 a pound. And then we have Bubble Jack, and it's yielding 0.6 pounds per plant, and it's selling at $1,500 a pound. Raise your hand if you would rather grow Bubble Jack. Who would rather grow face-off. Cool? So this is the data that I want you to process, make calculations, and tell me what you get now. So if you're growing 10 plants total, 5 of each strain, and your total cost per month is $3,000, that's including everything that you put in there. The rent, the salaries, the taxes, the nutrients, the soil, all of that. Then what is the margin, profit margin in dollars, for each pound of those strains? I'll give you a couple of minutes, work on it, and let's see where we are. Cool. Who thinks now that face-off is a better decision? What about Bubble Jack? All right. What's the margin on Bubble Jack? Anyone? Any other numbers? Cool. I'll run you through my calculations. We'll try to learn together. And so the first thing to know is how many pounds of each strain are you getting out of this. So this is 1.75 pounds of the face-off and 3 pounds of the Bubble Jack. Everyone, are we all good on that one? Cool. The next is the cost of production. So we have the $3,000 per month, but we're talking about a cycle. So we have to convert that to the total cost for the cycle. And the way to do that, assuming that it's a 9-week cycle and there's 4.3 weeks in a month, then you're getting that $6,236 or roughly $6,000 for the cycle. Who got that? Cool. And then if we average the total cost of production by the total number of pounds, then we get the average cost per pound. And so we typically think like that. And it's like, oh, my cost per pound is $12.75 or $13.13, and I'm selling the face-off for $1,800 and the Bubble Jack for $15. Man, I definitely want the face-off then. But the kicker is that the cost per pound is different for each one of these strains. If we have 5 plants out of the 10 that are one strain, and the other 5 that are a different strain, then basically half of the cost is going for each one of those 2 strains, right? Because the same number of lights for each one of those 5 plants, the same number of nutrients, soil, labor, maybe just the trim would be less, but basically you're splitting that $6,236 for the Bubble Jack between 1.75 pounds. And then, sorry, for the face-off. And for the Bubble Jack, we're splitting that half of this 6236, you're splitting that by 3. Is that part clear? Anyone has a question, or should I clarify any of that? So that gives us the real cost per pound strain specific. An easier way to do it is to say, if I grew the entire room of face-off, then you're just going to do that average cost, and it's going to give you that 1641. If I grew the entire room Bubble Jack, then you're going to divide that 6236 by not 3, but 6 pounds, and it's going to give you that $1,039. Then you figure out the profit margin because you have a sale price and a cost that's strain specific. And then you see that face-off, it's 159. You said negative 159 somehow. That was awesome. Yeah, I know. And then bubble jack is, 3 times. I'm not saying let's grow high-yielding strains all the time. Actually, I love to grow OGs because people appreciate that flower so much. It's rare, it's unique, and it's special. But we need to be profitable. We need to be sustainable businesses. It is important to at least know what you're doing. If then you choose, that's what I want, and that's cool with you, then that's cool. But at least you know. So what we do at Verde is find a balance. There's a lot of strains that yield and gives us a lot less profit. We still choose to grow them because it is about that balance for us. But at least we know. Now, which mode were you in when you were working in this project? Other than high. Who collaborated? Cool. We just spoke about this 5 minutes ago, and it's so easy to forget. What I truly, the reason why I truly wanted to bring this up is so we realize how easy it is for us to forget our nature, to forget to analyze where we're coming from. These would have been perfect. I did the roundtables on purpose so that people would work with each other. And 80% of the room said collaboration is the mode. But we still chose to go at it alone in a lot of the times. Awesome, Shelby, that you guys work together. But it's not about just showing you. To me, it's about making that connection and realizing how easy it is for us to forget. And when we are out there, we try to make that effort to really work on ourselves, be aware of our nature, start checking where we're coming from in every interaction that we have with others. And the reason why we don't want to change is because it hurts. But if we truly want to get to our best potential, there's no other way. There's no easy route. It hurts. It's tough. But if you want to get there, that's what it takes. It's a personal choice. Nobody can tell you, you need to get to your next level. You're only going to do it if you truly believe that there's something in there for you. If you truly believe that there is a return on that investment, then you're going to make that effort. If the pain that you feel by staying the same is greater than the pain of changing, that's truly when we decide to change. So to me, this talk is about creating that awareness, that consciousness that it's hard work to become better at anything. Better people, better professionals, better husbands, better boyfriends and girlfriends, better parents, better sons or daughters. And so a tool that I think is very useful is when we start seeing challenges as opportunities, difficulties as opportunities for us to grow. It's very easy to be pissed. And honestly, it's fine if we get pissed or angry or sad at a challenge or difficulty. That might be part of the process. But if we ingrain in our mind that every difficulty, every challenge gives us the opportunity to grow, and there's something in there for us, then that shift of consciousness really can help us start taking advantage of those opportunities. Because honestly, those challenges keep repeating themselves. It's not a coincidence. Whoever believes in karma is not just like cause and effect. It also means that there's something for you in every difficulty that comes your way. And so I truly would want to share this with you. I've gone through great experiences with the team at Verde where we grew together, and it's mostly from the difficulties that we grow, that we become better, and that we become more united. Because when we're there for other people, and when other people are there for us in the tough times, you take that to the grave. That really lasts. And so, if you decide then that you want to improve, you want to take yourself to the next level, then, and you don't want to take shortcuts, then you start on a path of seeking truth. You truly want the best result of every situation. And again, especially when that means recognizing that you were wrong or that you didn't do something that you should have. But when you realize that removing that agenda gives you more perspective, and then there's something out there for you from that, then it doesn't matter. Then the pain of being wrong or being like looked down or talked down, it doesn't matter because you see what you're getting from that. You're getting growth and you're getting more perspective. Now, to take that a step further, we can work as much as we want on ourselves, but to be leaders, there's other people involved. And so I want to really hear from you, why do you think relationships, all sorts, business, personal, why do you think makes relationships complicated?
It's a lack of compromise.
Sorry?
A lack of compromise.
Stubbornness, lack of compromise, communication.
I was going to say communication, but also ego,
Yeah, yeah.
power differentials.
Power differential.
Power
Mhm.
differentials.
Different views.
Individual becomes, that makes it compromise.
Fear.
Yeah, fear, for sure. To me, there's one key to relationships, and it is about trust. In work environments, as in teams, as in families, when we feel safe, when we feel that the other person is there for us and has good intentions, then we are able to thrive. We're able to put our best out there. But when we don't, we're watching our backs and we're watching what we say, and we actually also are less truthful because what's going to happen if I said that I screwed up? So the first thing that I would say for relationships, and teams are based on relationships. Like this idea that a manager can then, let people know and delegate and supervise without having connections is not real. However small or large are the teams, from couples to small groups to larger groups, it's about the relationship that you have with other individuals. That's what makes the bonds between teams. That's what makes teams stronger or less strong. And so if you're not truthful to yourself, if when you don't do something that you were supposed to, or when you treat someone in the wrong way, you find excuses and you lie to yourself, as opposed to coming clean, then you're damaging those relationships. Who do you respect more? Someone that comes to you and says, hey, I screwed up. This is what happened. Here it is. Or someone that maybe you think that they did or they didn't. It just damages the bonds. And so, but you have to be in there for the truth. You have to be on that mindset that what you want is truth. Because it's just better for ourselves. There's a win-win and a perfection in the universe when we are trying to do the best every single time. And then you can build trust with people. And then you can be that MVP that people trust. To me, yes, communications, yes, fears, yes, different personalities, yes, egos, like all those things are true. But at the end of the day, all people want the same. We all want happiness, fulfillment. And so if we're trying to be truthful, I believe we can build trust, we can form those bonds that then allow us to just have better teams, better relationships. And if the other person doesn't like us anyways, it's not meant to be. I'm reading this book called Leaders Eat Last from Simon Sinek. He wrote also Start With Why. And I thought this very appropriate. Because knowing more doesn't make you the leader. But if we don't allow that space to be available for the team members to express themselves, then that really makes you a bad leader. We miss out every time that we don't allow that environment to flourish. If there's someone from your team that has a bad idea, but she or he's afraid to say it because how you may react, then you are losing. Because you would rather know that that person had that bad idea. So you can help them. Because that's your team. That person's going to be performing based on those assumptions. If someone had a good idea, and they're not going to say it because you're an asshole, and screw you, you know, you always go with your thoughts and your ideas are always better, and then you're missing out on that great idea. So it's in your best interest to just listen and provide an environment for people to share their thoughts in a safe way. The key there is trust. If they trust that it's a safe place to speak up, then it's a win-win. They get to develop, you get to work with a team where the collective is producing the results, and overall people are happier. We're happier when we feel safe to talk. Forget about like efficiencies and motivation, that's like off the roof. And so really listening to others, it's a problem. Because there's something called a confirmation bias. And what that means is that we typically take as true something that aligns with our preconceived beliefs. But something that goes against our beliefs, we look for every little angle to find what's wrong with that. We see it in social media all the time. You see a post that goes along with your political views and you like it right away. And if it's something that goes against what you think, oh, I'm going to open that link. We don't open links on Facebook ever. But when something that I don't believe, you go, and you're going to try to find what's wrong with that. Why? Why do we do that? Is that truly listening? We do that because when we agree on something that goes against our beliefs, then that shakes up our foundations. And that's hard. You have to then rethink about your belief. So you don't want to do that work. And so this also takes a lot of work. We have to start being more aware that having more perspective is better. It's in our best interest. We're not doing it for someone else. You're doing it for yourself. It helps to the other ones too, because who doesn't want to be listened to? And the question that then arises is, when do we listen to others, and when do we go with our own beliefs? If we're checking ourselves all the time, then you don't get anything done. If you don't trust your ideas ever, then it'll be really hard to get anything done. But if you never double check yourself about what you think, then you're missing out on all that perspective from the outside. And so, to me, someone gave me this analogy once, and I think it's genius. It's like binary code. You're jumping from 1 to 0. You're jumping from one to the other constantly to find that balance, and then you find your flow. And then you're going sometimes to what you think, and sometimes you're checking yourself, but it's that balance that gets you in the flow. If you find yourself too many times double guessing yourselves, do like Cassandra said a month ago. Go with it. Trust yourself. Don't doubt yourself too much. If you are the type of person that always thinks you're right, check yourself. More often than not, you're going to find out something that's going to help you. It hurts, but it helps you. In terms of listening to the plant, as we listen to other people, we also should realize that the plant is trying to talk to us. That the plants are trying to tell us in cultivation, the plants are trying to tell us what's working and what's not. We have our 5 senses. We see plants. We smell, we touch plants, and we can tell many things from that. But our 5 senses are very, very limited. There's also our 6th sense. So we also can feel the energy and go with that, and that'll give you some too. And all that's great, but I want to give you a tool that we use to listen to the plants, to quantify what the plant is trying to tell us. So we developed something to do A/B testing. Who's familiar with A/B testing? So what A/B testing means is that you're testing an A and a B, 2 different settings, 2 different scenarios, and you're seeing what are the different results. And we do this all the time. All the time people bring new technology to our garden, and we don't want to just say, oh no, we have the perfect method. Forget, I don't want your machine that cleans the air or your new nutrient that it's so great. We assess, we evaluate, we read, we use our judgment first. But if we think that there's a chance on trying these worms or trying this new nutrient or this new light, then we give it a shot. The key is to make sure that you're only changing one variable. So, if you're testing 2 groups of plants, make sure that those are the same strain. Make sure that they are in the same room, under the same HVAC and same temperature and humidity conditions. That it's the same grower working with them, and it's the same nutrients, and it's the same spray regimen, and maybe you change the trim out. And maybe you change that light. If you change one thing and you measure the results, then the plant's going to speak to you. The plant's going to tell you at the end if the plant liked what you did better or less in each one of those. It's going to tell that to you on overall plant health, on the quality of the flower, and on the quantity of the flower that comes out. But you need to keep your data. You need to record those numbers. It's incredible how much we've been able to improve by doing this. And it's really a simple tool. We don't know. We know the theory, we know what our five senses tell us, but it's very, very limited. So let's listen to the plants. If you're seeking truth, then you won't mind being wrong about your assumption. Because it's better. The plant's telling you what they like. This, for us, starts with setting an objective and trying to put forward a hypothesis and a method and some resources, and then evaluating the results. This is how we do it. We always do it in a small scale. Start small. Don't overdo it because you can really get hurt. But test it in a small scale and see how it goes. Maybe you're using T5s or 315s on veg. Maybe you're vegging for 8 weeks or 6 or 10. And do you really know how much is that affecting positively or negatively your output? Quantifying that could make you change your cycles. You know, a lot of the times we see that vegging certain strains for longer really results in a much higher yielding output, that it's worth it. So then, wouldn't you want to know? Just because there's a way that's working doesn't mean it can't be better. So the same way, we want to better ourselves, we want to better our methods, we want to better the way we cultivate. And this is a really, really good management tool to do that. To finish with this talk, I would like to share what I think are the two main characteristics, components of leadership. Vision, of course, is what everyone recognizes. You know, you won't follow anyone that doesn't have a plan, right? You need to have some sort of idea of what you're trying to do. You need to have some sort of plan, some sort of direction to lead people. Doesn't mean you know everything, but you should have some sort of vision. But the most important that people often don't invest on is care. Care allows you to see what other people need. How many times you can see a good friend and just tell that they're going through something rough? It is not because you guys get along or because you know him so well, it's because you care. And then the universe is showing you something that's not allowed for others to see. How come mothers many times just know and give you a call? It's because they care unconditionally. And so it's the same for your teams. It's a win-win. The more, and care, by the way, it's something that you have to develop. It's not something that's just naturally there. We think, okay, I like this person, so I care for this person. If you truly want to be a leader, you need to care for each one of the people there, and you need to not judge them. Judging people means not caring for them. You need to put your heart out there and truly want to be there for them. That means they are your team. Otherwise you're saying, you're not so much part of my team. For that person, that means that they feel supported and they feel part. For you, it means that then you are able to have more perspective of what you need to do. It is a win-win. It is not just something nice that you want to do for people. And by the way, you can't fake it. You can't just like try to say hi and then the energy is there. People feel that. It's not possible to last. Maybe it'll last a little bit, but then if you don't really care, those relationships won't be there as much as they could. And so you're also missing out if you don't do that. Lastly, people will only sacrifice for you when you sacrifice for them. If you're the type of leader that thinks that someone owes you because you're paying them something, or you're entitled because you have that authority, you're seeing very short vision. It just doesn't work. What I'm trying to give you is something that actually works. If you do something for someone, then that person will be there for you too. If you expect someone to do something for you that you wouldn't do for them, you're just being naive. Maybe they will do it if they have to, but it'll be half-assed. So it's not worth it. The three things that I would like to close this with is, as a leader, and to try to be your best self, you have to be real. That means having real relationships with people. That means being truthful. You have to give yourself fully. You have to really put yourself out there, and when it's uncomfortable especially, go the extra mile and try to be there for another person. That will pay off. Don't even do it for them, do it for yourself. The reward, the fulfillment that you get when you're there fully for someone else is incredible, even if they don't appreciate it. And finally, build trust, be consistent. Don't just be one way one day and then another way and another day, because if you're not consistent, people can't expect what's going to happen. If you're sometimes being nice to someone and the next day you don't even say hi to that person, or if you sometimes try to be in the trenches with them, but then it's like you're gonna blame them for whatever mistake they did when you weren't around, then they don't have the safety to feel contained, and it's your responsibility as leaders to do that. Being consistent goes a very, very long way. People then feel safe. And then they want to do more. And it just feels great. These are just some experiences, some tools, some knowledge that I've acquired through leading a beautiful team of people that I want to share with you. But at the end, each one of us has their own path. You truly need to find what you connect with from all of this. It might be that what you take from this is the exercise about how to calculate profit margins. Hopefully not. But you need to see what's important for you, what resonates with you, what is your path, and whether you even want to do that. It's a lot harder to be a good leader than just to be a team member. But the reward is a lot bigger too. The fulfillment that I can tell you that I have received from leading people has no comparison to anything else for me. And so I really want to thank you for being here with me tonight. I think it's very special that I was able to speak with you. For me, it's an honor to share these things with you. And I would love to answer any questions. Thank you.